Good afternoon, ladies. I am truly delighted and honored to be here today. This is the third year that I've attended the New Hampshire Conference for Women, and last year I was actually sitting at one of these tables, and I remember thinking to myself, I would love an opportunity to be up on that stage sharing my passion for health empowerment. And a year later, here I am. So the power of the seed thought, right? If you put thoughts in your head and you believe them, we've talked a little bit about this today, it really can happen if you believe in it. So I'm here today to offer you some tips on how to get the absolute best shape of your life. But before I get into that, I want to start by telling you a little bit about myself, my personal journey to better health, and how my company, Friend Your Body, came to be. So up until about 6 years ago, as Leslie mentioned in my introduction, I was dealing with a list of nagging health problems. I was dealing with chronic fatigue, chronic digestive issues, chronic skin problems. I was not sleeping well at night. I had a lot of female issues, and I was gaining weight. And on one level, this concerned me because I come from a very unhealthy family on both sides. So I sort of just feared that being unhealthy was just part of my destiny. It was in my genes to not feel well. It also perplexed me because I'm a certified personal trainer, and at the time I was exercising pretty religiously and pretty intensively, and I didn't understand why my body basically stopped responding positively to exercise. So it was during my experience working as a personal trainer at a local gym that I decided to pursue some advanced certifications because I wanted more knowledge. And I essentially became a certified metabolic typing advisor and a holistic lifestyle coach, and that's just what the alphabet letters after my name stand for. So there's a saying that there's three kinds of knowledge. There's what you know, there's what you know you don't know, and there's what you don't know And that's probably the most dangerous kind of knowledge because it can keep you on this very vicious cycle of never making progress in your life. So as I immersed myself in the information that I was learning, I had some blinders removed, and I realized there were a lot of things I didn't know that I didn't know. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't sleeping well. I didn't have good sleep habits. I was not managing my stress well, and I wasn't even exercising properly. And I'm a certified trainer, and I'm going to teach you some things today about exercise that a lot of people don't know and understand. There's a lot of misconceptions. So as I started to apply a lot of the things that I was learning, I felt amazing. And 6 years later, I have alleviated every single one of my own health problems. Now, this was a very empowering experience for me, and it essentially inspired me to start my own health and fitness coaching company. And I've since made it my mission to educate, inspire, and empower as many people as I possibly can to take control of their health and transform their lives. So I want to pose some questions to each of you. Who here truly wants to develop great health? And I won't be offended if you don't. Who here has people in their lives who care about them? Do you have children? Do you have a spouse? Do you have pets? Do you care for an elderly relative? The reason I pose that question is because the quality of your health is not just about you, but it impacts everybody in your inner circle. Is there anyone here who can say that they've reached as high as they possibly can in all areas of their health and fitness? I was going to say, if I see a hand go up, I'm going to pass the mic off to you because I could probably learn a few things from you. As I said, this has been a 6-year journey for me, and I've embraced the philosophy that being healthy is truly about making lifelong changes. It's a journey, not a destination, as that saying goes. So being healthy is not about signing up for a 12-week weight loss program or a boot camp or whatever weight program or diet program is out there and expecting to feel wonderful at the end. It's truly about making small changes throughout the rest of your life. I am truly inspired by the opportunities that I have to share my knowledge, my experience, and my absolute passion for helping people reach higher in all areas of their health and fitness. And the people that I coach dramatically change their lives because of my coaching. So if I don't spark just a little bit of inspiration in you today to start thinking just a little bit differently about your health, then I certainly have not fulfilled my purpose. So without further ado, here are 21 tips to help you get in the best shape of your life. The first tip is to empty your cup. Who's ever heard this saying? Empty your cup? This is an old saying that comes from a story that's oftentimes told in martial arts circles. There's different variations of it, but I'm going to give you my version. So there's a health coach, and she sits down with her client to start to review her health program. And the client is very resistant, and she says, oh, no, I don't believe any of this. This isn't what I believe to be true about exercise and diet and living healthy. So she's done all these different diets and exercise programs, so she thinks she knows. So the teacher or the coach and the client sit down together to have a cup of tea, and the coach fills both of their cups up, and then the coach proceeds to take her full cup and pour it into her client's cup. And the client says, wait a minute, before I can take any of your tea into my cup, I first have to empty mine. And she said, yes. Much like if you want me to teach you anything new, you need to remove all your preconceived notions about what you think to be true about diet, exercise, and healthy lifestyle so that I can truly teach you something. So as I said before, what you don't know is the most dangerous kind of knowledge. If you truly seek understanding, then you will empty your cup. All right. Tip number 2 is to take full responsibility for your health. That means taking responsibility for your thoughts, your actions, and your choices. Each and every one of you makes a lot of choices every day. You choose what you eat and drink. You choose what you do for exercise. You choose how you manage your stress. You choose what time you go to bed. You choose who you surround yourself by. You choose what kinds of thoughts you allow to dominate your mind. And all of these things collectively impact your current state of health. And when you think about that, that's a very empowering thought. Because if all of your choices have collectively led to this current state, that means that your choices can also take you to a better place in life. Tip number 3, make no excuses. Don't blame others for your health problems or failure to make progress. These are some of my the most common excuses that I hear. I don't have time, I'm too old, I don't have the willpower, I don't have the money, my friends and family aren't supportive. Whatever your reasons for not taking control of your health, quite honestly, it's an excuse. The reality is that being healthy is not always convenient, and it's not always easy. But if you think about it, if you don't have your health, you really have nothing. It really doesn't matter how successful you are, how much money you have, or how beautiful your home is, or how many cars you have. If you're not well, you can't enjoy those things. Tip number 4 is to turn your power switch on and discover your purpose. Have you ever noticed when you've ever started some sort of a health program that you very quickly lose steam and motivation? And why is that? I believe it's because your reason for starting just isn't good enough in the first place. Now, a lot of times when people seek out my services, I say, what are your goals? What's your purpose for doing this? And they say, well, I want to look really good in my bathing suit when I go on vacation. I want to look good in my dress when I go to my daughter's wedding. And there's certainly nothing wrong with wanting those things, but they're very superficial reasons for getting healthy. What happens when the vacation's over or when the wedding's over? Typically, you go right back to your old habits. So you need to get very clear about what your purpose is. Identify what your dream is. This is what motivates you and inspires you to make the changes necessary. Now, as I told you at the very beginning of my talk, what my purpose is. It's to educate, inspire, and empower as many people as I possibly can to transform their lives. That's what motivates me. That's what inspires me to be the best that I can be and keep moving forward, because as a health coach, I have to live what I teach. Otherwise, I have no business teaching it. Tip number 5 is to make yourself a priority. It is a universal truth that you cannot take care of others any better than you can take care of yourself. So when you let all your other priorities take over, managing family, managing work, managing social responsibilities, and all of a sudden you go here, you're at the bottom, you neglect your personal well-being, not only you pay the price for that, but your loved ones. Remember I said at the very beginning that the quality of your health isn't just about you. Making yourself a priority means making the time to eat healthy food every day, making the time to drink water, making the time to move a little bit, making sure that you're getting adequate rest and some downtime, and making time for enjoyment, spending time with friends. It certainly does not mean neglecting your other responsibilities. It's okay to be a little bit selfish. I work with a lot of moms. I work with a lot of parents, but especially moms, and I find it's really hard for moms because moms typically put themselves at the very bottom. Everyone comes first. And I think that's sort of a female thing. You know, we generally, we're caretakers by nature. We want to help other people. But think about this. When you start to make yourself a priority, you become stronger, you're more energized, you're more productive. And then you become a good role model to all the people you love in your life. and then everyone benefits. So making yourself a priority is a win-win. Tip number 7 is to ditch the all or nothing mindset. Being healthy is not a 100% deal. A number of years ago, before I started my own health journey, I tried a bunch of different diets and fitness programs, and I failed over and over. I was on this very vicious cycle. And then I said, I'm going to embrace the 80-20 rule. Who's heard of the 80-20 rule before? Okay, good. Most of you have. The 80-20 rule is quite simple. If you can commit to living a healthy lifestyle 80% of the time, that gives you 20%. I don't like to use the word cheat because it has a negative connotation to it. But that gives you 20% to not feel like you have to be perfect all the time. And when I work with clients, I always invite them to define what their 20% is. I don't define it for them because your 20% has to be livable for you. Here's a healthy mantra for you. If I slip up, I will not give up. And this is a mistake that a lot of people make. When you slip up, I just look at that as a little setback. And even I have slip-ups. I full-heartedly embrace the 80-20 rule. Trust me, I really take advantage. When my boyfriend has a cookie or a beer, he says, this is my 20, this is my 20. He likes to remind me of that. And it's okay to start over. This is another area where most people sort of make mistakes. They fall off the bandwagon and then they just allow themselves to spiral. You have to forgive yourself, first of all. Beating yourself up does nothing to help you make progress. And we do it all the time as women. We're very, very hard on ourselves. Be forgiving of yourself. And the second thing is ask why it happened and what you're going to do next time. Every time you have a slip up, look at it as a learning opportunity and say to yourself, what am I going to do differently the next time I'm faced with a situation? Focus on progress, not perfection. Tip number 8 is to close your mind to all negative and discouraging influences. This is something that Stacy touched upon before. Do you have ants? Has anyone ever heard of the term ants? Automatic negative thoughts, right? Just the negative thoughts that come in. You have to be very careful of your own thinking because it can absolutely sabotage you. There's a lot of science to support that the way you think manifests physically. So if you're thinking negative thoughts, it will show up as aches and pains. It will show up as poor digestion. It will show up as weight gain. It will show up as illnesses. And not only that, when you don't think well, you won't behave well. So you're going to behave in accordance with whatever you're telling your mind. Here's a simple activity that you can do, and I have a lot of my clients do this when they've got a lot of negative self-talk going on. Over a period of 2 to 3 days, just write down any negative thought that sort of comes into your mind. And at the end of 3 days, tally those negative thoughts. And this will sort of give you a snapshot of how much negative energy that you're feeding yourself. It's quite staggering and you know, when we really sort of look at all the things that we say to ourselves repeatedly. Tip number 9, realize your power to reinvent yourself. So our mental images of who we are, you know, form as we grow up. And a lot of it's based on our personal experiences, our social and cultural conditioning. And over time, oftentimes we can create this negative self-image of who we are. It's not necessarily true, but it's just sort of formed over the years. Over the last 6 years, I've had to personally do a lot of reinventing. And I believe that reinventing yourself should truly be a lifelong process. If the more you empty your cup, the more open you are to reinventing yourself, the stronger you get. And I won't share with you all the trials and tribulations that I've gone through over the years, but I'm going to share one incident with you that I think many of you will be able to relate to. Now, all growing up, I had a severe negative body image. It was so severe that I wouldn't wear a bathing suit around even my own family or friends for many years. I wouldn't wear tight-fitting clothing because I was very self-conscious of what I looked like. And for many years, I carried this with me. I didn't like the way that I looked. And it wasn't until I decided to reinvent myself and change how I viewed myself that I started to feel better. And it's no coincidence to me now that I had a lot of the health problems that I had because I didn't think good thoughts about myself. So whether you realize it or not, the way you think about yourself projects physically. How do you reinvent yourself? You need to get very, very clear about what your personal values are. What do you need to feel physically, mentally, and emotionally happy? How do you need to eat? How much sleep and downtime do you need? What kind of exercise do you need? What kind of people do you need to surround yourself by? Are you an introvert or an extrovert, right? Extroverts sort of thrive on being around people. Introverts sort of thrive on being by themselves, or maybe you're a combination of both. When you can get clear about what these values are, it starts to become your personal guide, and every decision that you make is influenced by these choices. And it makes it a lot easier to overcome personal challenges when you're very, very clear about what your value system is. Tip number 10 is to create a strong support system. I believe that's the #1 success factor, especially when you're making lifestyle changes. So you have to be very mindful of the people that you surround yourself by. Unfortunately, in some cases, our very close friends and family sometimes are not our best supporters. And I deal with this a lot when I work with clients. I had a client a number of years ago who told me that her best friend made a bet with her that she would not be successful with her health program. And I thought, well, that's an interesting remark for your best friend to be making. Sometimes it's our best friend, sometimes it's our spouse, sometimes it's our children. So you have to be very, very mindful of these relationships and how you allow them to influence you. Tip number 11 is to throw away your scale. The biggest mistake I think anyone can make is to equate weight loss with health gains. And what I mean by that is that you can actually lose weight and you can be thin and not be healthy. Because I was one of those people. I call them sick, thin people. So it isn't just about losing weight. You have to ask yourself, do you want to be healthy or do you want to be thin? Because they're not one and the same. A number of problems I personally have with the scale is, number one, it can be demotivating and it can be discouraging. A number of years ago, I was obsessed with the scale. And it could make or break my day if that number was just a few pounds off. The other issue with the scale is that sometimes it can go up or down for various reasons. Maybe you're retaining more water one day. Maybe you're building muscle. Maybe you haven't emptied out your bowels. That can cause the scale to go up. Oftentimes women lose scale weight thinking they've lost fat, but they've actually lost muscle. So it's a very dangerous trap to get into when you focus just on what the scale says. I always encourage my clients to focus on how they feel, not what they weigh. Because when you get healthy, everything starts to fall into place. But when you focus on just what the scale says, it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything to get well. Focus on your energy levels. How well do you sleep at night? What is the health of your digestion? How clearly do you think? How productive are you? How well do you respond to exercise? Are your moods and emotions balanced? These are markers that most people never pay attention to. Tip number 12 is to live by the 4 pillars of optimal health. Now, I want to break it down for you. Being healthy truly is this simple. The first thing is eating a balanced diet and making sure that you're hydrating properly. The second thing is making sure that you're getting enough rest and relaxation. The third thing is making sure that you're living a happy and fulfilled life. And the fourth thing is making sure that you're getting adequate movement. That is it. All of my health coaching programs are based on those 4 pillars. And people are quite amazed at how simple it is. Not always easy, but it is simple. And I find that most health programs fail people because they don't consider all of these variables together. Maybe it's just one aspect of wellness. I find that when you're not feeling well and something's wrong with your health, it's usually one or more of these areas that's not balanced. Tip number 3, never count calories. It's not as simple as calories in, calories out. So I'm going to give you a thought to consider if you're a calorie counter. I want you to think about the fact that between 55 and 85% of the calories that you take in every day, you need just to stay alive. That's just to have enough energy to be listening to me. That's just enough energy to have when you get in your car and you drive home. But these percentages don't account for genetic, hormonal, and environmental factors. They don't account for physical and mental stress, sleep, weather changes, activity levels. These things can go up or go down from one day to the next, and how do you possibly measure them? So you could have 2 women, same age, same height, same weight. That doesn't mean that they should be consuming the same amount of calories, because they could have very different lifestyles. So if you get trapped in counting calories, what can happen is you could be over-consuming or under-consuming, and either way isn't healthy. So here's a simple example to illustrate my point. I've got pretzels on the left and apple slices and almonds on the right. They're both 100 calories. Which one's healthier for you? The answer is pretty obvious, and yet I find most people will go to the pretzels because they say, but I can have more pretzels. There's only a few apple slices and almonds on there, but I can have a whole bag of pretzels. And understand that there's no nutrition on the left side. In fact, when you look at most processed foods, it's just a bunch of chemicals in there. You're not really eating food. Tip number 14, whenever possible, eat whole organic foods. We have a lot of problems with our food processing today. Thousands of chemicals are being added to our food supply, about 15,000 if you can believe that. We're talking about things like hormones, antibiotics, fertilizers, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, food additives, artificial sweeteners, fake sugars, fake fats. I can't list them all because there's thousands of them. Foods are also being genetically modified and irradiated, so we essentially have food companies treating our food like science experiments. Organic foods, if they're truly organic, are raised in a way that's not toxic. They don't use these chemicals. It's supporting a healthy environment. They can't be genetically modified or irradiated. 4 times more nutritious. When you look at studies, people are eating about 1/3 less, and that makes sense because they're getting more nutrition. You can also alleviate a lot of health problems. Now, there are a lot of naysayers out there about organic foods, and I'm probably one of the biggest advocates for organic foods because it's one of the things that has truly saved my life. I started eating more organic foods about 6 years ago, and that was one of the things right away I noticed that I started to feel great. But I use the term whenever possible because the reality is it's very tough to do it 100% of the time, so just do the best you can. Tip number 15 is to create a clean eating kitchen. You want to create an environment in your home that is conducive to healthy eating. I'm what I call a seafood eater. Anyone else a seafood eater? I'm talking about you see it and you want to eat it. I know that about myself. So whenever possible, I create environments for myself where it's only a healthy option. When I'm hungry, I don't have a cookie or a Snickers bar or brownies. I've got apples and almond butter and carrot sticks. I only have healthy options, right? That's very simple. That's behavior modification 101. Tip number 16, drink about 50% of your body weight in ounces each day. I have a table set up and I've been playing wellness trivia. A number of you stopped by to play. This is one of the questions I was asking. There's a misconception that we should all be drinking 8-ounce glasses. I'm sure you've heard that before. We know that that's actually not true. A good rule of thumb is just to take your body weight, divide it in half, and that's about how many ounces you want to be drinking. Dehydration is a very serious issue. I see it a lot with my clients. Between 70 and 80% of your body is made up of water. So when you're not hydrating properly, you will literally develop a list of nagging health problems. So this is a very simple way to boost your health. Tip number 17 is to get to sleep by 10 p.m. Between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., your body actually does physical repair. So what that means is that your body is actually releasing hormones that allows your body to repair your muscles, your ligaments, your tendons. And then between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., your body does its psychogenic repair. So it allows your body to repair your nervous system and your hormonal system. Now, when you become sleep deprived, you will inevitably develop a list of nagging health problems, and that's one of the things that happened to me a number of years ago. 6 years ago, I had very disrupted sleep-wake cycles, and for me, it was normal to go to bed around 1 o'clock in the morning. I was a very busy working professional, and it wasn't until I started to change my sleep habits that I started to feel better. You sort of can't cheat biology. So some of my clients try to argue with me, well, I've got to stay up late, I've got a family, I have work to do. And the reality is your body is designed to sleep at night. So anytime you work against nature, you're setting the stage for some potential problems. Tip number 18 is to work in before you work out. Who's heard of the phrase work out? Most of you. Who's heard of the phrase work in? Very few people have heard this before. Here's what I mean. Let's say you want to boost your energy, or you want to change your body shape, or you want to overcome some sort of an injury. Maybe you want to do a marathon or hike a mountain, whatever your health and fitness goals are, and you say to yourself, well, I got to go to the gym, and I have to start working out to achieve that. I would say that you could be potentially setting yourself up to fail, because you should be working in first. Now, I'm going to give you a thought to consider. Very few people understand this and do this right. We have a lot of different stressors in our lives. We've got physical stressors, emotional stressors, mental, spiritual stressors, chemical stressors. And all these stressors drain our vitality. I'm going to give you a very simple analogy to think about when you think about stress and how it affects you. So I want you to picture yourself with a backpack on, and you're swimming in water that's over your head. And all of a sudden, I start to pile some really heavy stones into your backpack. And those stones represent not eating well. And those stones represent not sleeping well. And they represent not exercising properly. And they represent working long hours and having financial stress and worrying about your kids. We can keep going, piling those stones. What starts to happen to you as you're swimming in that water? You sink, and you can be an Olympic swimmer. We all have a threshold, and in my experience working with clients, most people's heads are underwater. And what I teach people to do is just take out some of those stones to lighten their load. I use that analogy because if you have a heavy backpack and you engage in rigorous exercise, what you're actually doing is adding a stone to your backpack. You're adding stress. And this was a mistake that I made a number of years ago when I was a personal trainer, because I was trained to go hard or go home. And I was working very long days, 10-hour days. I had 2 jobs, wasn't eating well, wasn't sleeping well. But if it was a workout day for me, you bet your butt that I was going to be training that day because I was very dedicated to it. And it was just a matter of time before I ended up injuring my back, I injured my shoulder, and I started to gain weight. Right? And that's the last thing that we want to do. I was putting fat on my body. I could not get lean for the life of me. And that's because my stress hormones were so elevated, my body was breaking itself down. So you have to understand the concept when it comes to exercise. It's not about pushing hard. Forget the no pain, no gain mentality, because exercising harder for some people can actually be potentially dangerous. I would say that pain equals no gain. Because what happens when you're in pain and you hurt yourself from exercise? You have to stop, and then there you've just defeated your purpose. What does it mean to work in? It means using low-intensity movements. It means creating energy as opposed to using it. It means activating your rest and recovery system. So all that means is that you're activating repair hormones. It only takes a few minutes a day. Now, if you're someone who's just exhausted at the very idea of doing intense exercise, then your mind-body is telling you something, and you should probably be working in. These are some of my personal favorite kinds of work-in exercises: slow walking, yoga, stretching, and breathing squats. And these are a great way to keep your body balanced, improve energy, improve core, improve flexibility, and this is the type of stuff you can do in a minute a day, a minute to 20 minutes. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to invite you to do a hands-on segment with me. So I'm going to ask you to stand up. So you just worked out with our Zumba instructor. Is it Christine? Christine? Now you're going to do some working in with me, right? Okay, so what I want you to do is position your feet about a little further than hips width apart. And I want you to point your toes out a little bit. And then you're going to put your arms out in front of you like this. You're going to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. So here we go. Inhale through your nose, then exhale through your mouth. As you squat down, go as low as what's comfortable for you. Nice, beautiful squats. And then inhale through your nose. So again, inhale, and then exhale through your mouth. And then inhale through your nose. We'll do one more. Exhale through your mouth. Perfect. And then inhale through your nose. Well done. You can have a seat. That's a breathing squat. You can do it anytime, anywhere, no equipment needed. I work with a lot of busy working professionals. And they say, what can I do? I've got 5 minutes. That's all I can do for an exercise program. And I say, no problem. I give them 5 exercises like this. Doesn't take a lot of time, right? And if you say, I don't have 5 minutes, Melissa, then I say, I really have no answers for you, right? It's a little bit of something every day applied consistently, and you can start to feel pretty great. All right, tip number 9 is to practice saying no. I think Stacy mentioned this in her presentation, so it bears repeating because it's important. Sometimes saying no to other people means saying yes to yourself. As women, I think it becomes very easy to say yes, 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 yes to your children, yes to your spouse, yes to work, yes to friends, and then all of a sudden there's nothing left for you. So I believe that being healthy means saying no sometimes, because at the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do for your own well-being. And as I said, being a little bit selfish is okay. All right, we're almost done here. Tip number 20 is to take control of your health now. So there's a very old saying, when is the best time to plant a tree? The answer is 20 years ago, but the next best time is right now, right? The best time to take control of your health was always 20 years ago, but it's not 20 years ago, it's 20 years later. So do you keep letting another year pass, 2 years pass, 5 years pass, or do something about it now? Because the longer that you delay getting started, what that means is that the longer you delay feeling better. The reality is there's never a right time. There really never is. We always say, well, you know, when my kids grow up, or, you know, when I make more money, or I have more time, because the reality is if you keep telling yourself that, the time really is never going to come. All right, tip number 21. I want to leave you with this final thought. Always remember that your health is your choice. No matter where you are today, you have the power to change where you are tomorrow by the choices you make. At the very beginning of my talk, I talked about all the choices you have. You choose what you eat and drink, you choose what time you go to bed, you choose what time, whether or not to exercise, who you surround yourself by, what kinds of thoughts you allow to dominate your mind, etc. And all of these things impact your current state of health. So you can choose to make time for your health today, starting now, or you can choose to do nothing at all. And either way, it's your choice. But I will say this, if you do not choose to make time for your health today, what you're essentially doing is choosing to make time for illness tomorrow, if illness hasn't already hit you today. So let that final thought ruminate. Before I go, I just want to tell you quickly about a special promotion that we're doing with Friend Your Body. So everyone in their bag has one of these flyers. I'm going to invite you to take it out. On the front side, it says, win a $1,000 health and fitness coaching package. There's a QR code. You can either scan it, or you can go to our Facebook page and sign up. This is something that I never really do because I put a very high value on my coaching, but we're actually raffling off a $1,000 health and fitness coaching program. So this is a very unique opportunity for you. So I encourage you to take advantage of it. On the back side, it says to go to Friend Your Body to sign up for a free Get Fit Starter Pack. It's a wonderful free resource for you. If you haven't downloaded it already, I encourage you to do that. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about our health and fitness programs, we do a lot of private health and fitness coaching. We also do a lot of employee wellness programs. And one of the things we're offering today is a complimentary health and fitness seminar. Now, 5 people in this room have silver stickers on the front of their flyers. Can you raise your hand if you're one of those people? Anybody? Oh, good. All right, excellent. So those of you who have silver stickers, you have actually won our DIY Healthy Solutions on the Go program. So this is an online program. It's available exclusively online, so you can access it anytime, anywhere. When I get off the stage, come and see me so I can get your name and contact information so that I can send the information to register. It's a $150 value, so congratulations to you. And finally, if you are on LinkedIn or Facebook, please connect with me. Always look for the opportunity to make new friends and connect with new people. So thank you so much for lending me your ear for the last half hour. I hope that this has been beneficial and inspiring for you. And please come and see me. I have a table set up in the other room. All right, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.